Chapter 1736, Time Prelude. Zhang Yi did not admit this aspect of the personal description of Emperor Shi Tian, but he gave a rough account of Zhang Yi's personal background in just a few words. There are only two possibilities. Either the other party has conducted an extremely detailed investigation on Zhang Yi, but this possibility is not very high, because Zhang Yi was just an unknown little person before the end of the world, and after the end of the world, when he rose to prominence, Huaxi state had a very strict blockade of his intelligence. So there is no reason for Emperor Shi Tian to describe his life in such detail. Then, there is only the second possibility. As if seeing the doubt in Zhang Yi's eyes, Emperor Shi Tian smiled slightly, like the Buddha pitying all living beings. Don't make any guesses. I can tell you clearly. I can see through all your past. This is my ability of Emperor Shi Tian, Time Overture. In front of me, you are as naked as when you were born in this world, without any secrets. The ability of the time system can predict the future, and of course it is possible to see through the past. Zhang Yi frowned slightly. This ability is indeed terrible. Intelligence is extremely important in the battle between aliens. Almost all aliens have hidden trump cards, which may burst out the ability to surpass their own ability index and kill the enemy above their level. And precisely because of this, the battle between aliens requires a lot of time to figure out the ability of the other party and think about the means to deal with it. However, Emperor Shi Tian's Time Overture saves this process, and he is still a fog to the enemy. The strongest man of Barata showed his powerful ability as soon as he appeared. You look carefully, but it's a pity that your eyes are probably nearsighted, and you can't see people accurately at all. Zhang Yi sneered. Hearing this, Emperor Shi Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. You are still unwilling to accept reality until now. This is really pitiful. Zhang Yi raised his head proudly. I am clearly a bright and great person. As soon as this sentence came out, Liang Yu, who was not far away, turned his head slightly, and Yang Xinxin, Zhou Kur, and Mu Yan in the shadow space also laughed dumbly.
Zhang.
He was not panicked in his heart. Even if his past was seen through, what could he do? He already had a clear understanding of the strength of the 8 tribes. After all, there were 3 people who had fought with him, including Gao Changkong. So, although it is unknown how strong Emperor Shi Tian is, it is obvious that he is at most within the strength of Bishop Bai. As long as Zhang Yi is careful enough, he will not give the other party any chance to kill him. Emperor Shi Tian murmured, if I can only see your past, it is not an ability worth boasting about. But if, the smile on his mouth became more intense, and he looked at Zhang Yi more like an adult looking at a playful child, I can see through your future? This sentence made Zhang Yi laugh. See through my future? In his left eye, a hazy light kept flowing. Unfortunately, he can also see through the future, although it is only for a short 3 seconds. However, if 2 time-related aliens both have the ability to see through the future, what will their battle be like? Emperor Shi Tian opened his arms, and his gorgeous clothes unfolded with his movements, looking very much like a god in mythology and legends. I see through your future. It's your destiny. Chaos, I know you also have the ability of time, but compared with my ability, it's so weak that it can be ignored. Emperor Shi Tian stretched out a finger and said to Zhang Yi confidently, I saw 10,600 possibilities of your future, and there are only 7 possibilities for you to survive. So, are you sure you don't kneel down and surrender to me right now, but continue to resist? Zhang Yi just regarded what Emperor Shi Tian said as fart. Just kidding, we are all enemies. Why should I listen to your nonsense there? Do you really think he is a villain in the comics and he will admit defeat because of your talk? Zhang Yi looked at Emperor Shi Tian, and a brilliant smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Oh, really? Shwa. His figure disappeared directly on the spot, and the next moment he came in front of Liang Yu and grabbed her hand. The mission has been completed. We should withdraw. The purpose of his trip was just to eradicate the invaders in the southwest region and then give Barata a profound lesson. Now that he had done what he was supposed to do, why did he have to stay on someone else's territory and fight to the death? Sorry, that's not Zhang Yi's style. Zhang Yi opened the dimensional door and disappeared thousands of meters away with Liang Yu. Emperor Shirtian looked at Zhang Yi, who was going away, but his eyes were calm. So your choice is to escape? The most powerful alien in Huashu country fled in front of me. It would be very interesting if it got out. His voice echoed in the sky through intelligent mechanical equipment. Zhang Yi rolled his eyes. No matter what you say, he doesn't care. Seeing Zhang Yi decisively taking Liangyu to the southwest region, Emperor Shirtian finally showed a look of contempt and anger in his eyes. He did see through countless futures. But this time when he looked at Zhang Yi, he didn't say what he said because the future he saw was disturbed by a strange force. This was the first time that Indra had encountered this situation since he became the leader of the 8 divisions. He knew what it was. It was a deviation in the law of causality caused by encountering a high-level alien with the same time attribute. If you can see through the future, and the person you are looking at can also do so, he will definitely change his behavior because of the fact that he saw you see through the future. This cycle will lead to countless branches in the timeline. Seeing that Zhang Yi was planning to escape, the senior officials of Barata who were watching the battle suddenly became anxious. Indra, we must not let him escape like this. Otherwise, Barata will become a laughingstock of the international community. We must catch him, or kill him directly. Take back the Jagannath temple. Indra raised the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were as cold as a sharp knife. He can't leave. Rajesh saw that the battle was about to end, but after hearing what Emperor Shirtian said, he couldn't help but ask, do you have the confidence to stop him? You know, he is the most powerful space-based ability user in the world today. If he wants to leave, no one can stop him. Emperor Shirtian just smiled faintly. He can leave, but the land of Huashi will not leave. Since the purpose of his trip is to go to the land in the southwest region, then I will go to find him. Chapter 1737 Mutual Explosion. Emperor Shirtian is very smart. There is no high-level alien in the southwest region now, and in terms of armed forces alone, they are the weakest among the 6 regions, and they don't even have the god of death of love. So now, as long as he leads the army, can Jangi escape? If he escapes, all his previous efforts will be wasted, and he will become a coward in the eyes of the entire Huashu kingdom and even the world. So Emperor Shirtian knew that Zhang Yi could not run away. He stepped on the 7 treasure golden steps and quickly chased in the direction Zhang Yi left. The group of fighter planes behind him also roared and followed closely. General Chalmar also realized this and gave an order immediately. Assemble the 7th, 9th, 13th, and 122nd Army groups, and be ready to cross the snow mountains at any time on the border and head straight for the southwestern region of Huashu country. Rajesh stood up in surprise. Are you crazy? What you are doing will trigger an all-out war. Moreover, Huashu country has just led the international coalition to defeat the invasion of the underground civilization. Our actions will be condemned by the international community. Chalmar roared. Enough, Khosrowpali. It's already this time. Do you still want to say such words that harm the interests of Barata? Don't think that you have read a few years of foreign books and have a little foreign ink in your stomach, so you dare to talk nonsense to me here. He pressed forward step by step, pointed his finger at Rajesh's chest, and said ferociously, your mind has been tainted by the guys in Colombia. Now we have no choice. If we retreat a little, we will become the laughingstock of the international community. As the initiators of the war, they now have no way out. The original idea was completely in vain. It was thought that with the state of Huashu after the war, they would not dare to respond to their actions immediately. Even if Huashu recovered in the future, they would have already established a firm foothold in the southwest region and achieved full control. But who could have thought that Huashu would have a figure like Chaos? An absolute strong man with the strength of a white bishop and terrifying abilities, and who is intact after that war. The knight uses martial arts to break the law. When the power possessed by an individual is enough to affect the country, and even the world situation, this is a situation that these high-level officials cannot foresee. Even if Chalmar knew the possible consequences of this matter, he could not turn back. Because if he accepted this huge loss, he would most likely be deprived of all power and even be sent to the gallows. So, He had to go crazy. Rajesh was pushed directly onto the chair by Chalmar, with a look of despair on his face, because he knew deeply in his heart that if things got to this point, Barata would face a huge dilemma regardless of victory or defeat. This is the price that the invaders must pay. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu quickly rushed to the southwest region. As the world's #1 space alien, he wanted to escape, and even if the other party used the death of love, he could not be killed. After all, when the other party opened the launch chamber, satellites all over the world could sense it, and this time was enough for Zhang Yi to escape. At worst, he could use the cheating method of escape into the void to temporarily avoid the period when the explosion of the death of love was the most powerful. Zhang Yi, they are chasing us from behind. Liang Yu reminded. The speed of the fighter plane is not slow. Even if it can't beat Zhang Yi, the whistling sonic boom is still eye-catching. Zhang Yi didn't look back. The tactical mask had already given him a hint. I know what they want to do. Huh? Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi curiously. Zhang Yi said, they can't just let us go back like this. Even if we can leave, they will use various means to force us to fight them. Liang Yu frowned, looking indignant. But they are the invaders. Zhang Yi said, people always think from their own interests and never admit their mistakes. If they let me leave like this today, I will be embarrassed in front of the whole world. After all, this is a humiliation that will go down in history. Liang Yu asked, what should we do? Leave. Zhang Yi looked at the number of the other side's fighters displayed by the intelligence system and smiled coldly. If we leave, then they will immediately pour into the southwest region. Isn't everything we have done in vain? How can that be? Liang Yu stared and clenched his fists angrily. So, we can't leave, Zhang Yi said lightly, without any panic in his tone. And from the beginning, I didn't plan to leave.
He didn't want to escape.
Once the war started, there must be an end. Only when one side is defeated and scared will it retreat obediently. However, he didn't want to start a war within the territory of Barata. Even if he had to fight at the border between the two countries to avoid falling into the other side's geographical advantage. After understanding all this, Liang Yu also showed a look of understanding. Zhang Yi soon arrived at the Great Snow Mountain Range, which is the highest area in the world and is covered with snow all year round. Looking around, it was all white and crystal clear. Zhang Yi turned his head and saw the golden light approaching rapidly in the distant sky, and the fighter planes in the sky were also chasing after them. Ding ding. The intelligence system received a communication request from Meng Yuanjun. Zhang Yi answered the call, and Meng Yuanjun's serious voice came. Chaos. Barata has assembled 100,000 troops at the border, and they may attack the southwest region directly. Got it?
Zhang Yi said lightly.
Ordinary people, even professional armies, can hardly play a role in front of top aliens. And Barata just wanted to show a gesture. That is, once Zhang Yi escapes, they will immediately attack the southwest region. What are you going to do? Meng Yuanjun asked Zhang Yi's opinion. He had no power to command Zhang Yi to do things. Even if Zhang Yi chose to leave at this time, Meng Yuanjun could not find fault with him. After all, it was a national event, and other regions could not send people because of post-war recuperation. Instead, they had to rely on Zhang Yi, the leader of a personal organization independent of the 6 regions. It was really difficult to make more demands on Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi said calmly, I only need you to do one thing. Open the launch chamber of the God of Love. Tell Barata that if they really want to explode each other, they should first consider the difference of more than 10 times in the number of God of Love. Meng Yuanju nodded. Don't worry about this. And I have already notified Li Changgong, who is closest to you. Let Qiyu lead the team to the front line. Zhang Yi exhaled and smiled. You decide. It would take at least 1 or 2 hours to get here from the northwest region, which is not enough. Now it depends on Zhang Yi to solve the problem. Chapter 1738. The Buddha's Heavenly Umbrella. Zhang Yi stood on the snowy mountain, and then he said to Liang Yu, you go to the southwest region immediately and lead all the members of the Fueying troops to stand by. Once the other party takes any action to start a war, do not hesitate and fight back directly. If the other party dares not use the god of death of love, then the aliens below Epsilon cannot cause you harm. If you encounter a problem that is difficult to solve, take everyone to evacuate first. Liangyu looked into the distance. Her current strength has improved very rapidly. After the battle with the underground civilization, she also obtained a part of the origin. It's just that it will take some time to completely absorb the origin of the silver armor. She can't confront the alien of the level of Emperor Shirtian head-on. Liangyu nodded. After all, she never needs to worry about the safety of Jangi. She raised her hand and threw Longming's scabbard on the snow, then jumped up and slid down quickly along the towering snowy mountain. Zhang Yi stood near the border between the two countries. The divine refining in his hand turned into a big sniper and was raised high by him. The sky in the distance became brighter and brighter. Emperor Shirtian stepped on the 7 treasure golden steps, holding the world-honored heavenly umbrella and rotating at a uniform speed, and then quickly approached the direction where Zhang Yi was. As long as you dare to cross the border today, I will regard it as a declaration of war. Zhang Yi murmured. Emperor Shirtian really came, and he didn't take the border between the two countries seriously at all, and crossed it directly. And Zhang Yi was not polite at all, and the sniper in his hand made a thunderous sound. Boom! Like a thunder in the sky, a violent star-piercing cannon was aimed at Emperor Shirtian and shot directly at him. The smile on Emperor Shirtian's face became a little faint. His body did not move, but the world-honored heavenly umbrella in his right hand was still running at a constant speed. Strands of golden light fell from the edge of his umbrella, and around him, like a holy light, it turned into an indestructible curtain. The moment the black light hit the golden curtain, a strong explosion occurred. The black light swallowed everything in front of it, slowly and firmly piercing through the golden curtain. Seeing this scene, Emperor Shirtian's eyes shrank slightly, but the star-piercing cannon finally dissipated completely less than 10 meters away from his body. Zhang Yi saw Emperor Shirtian's reaction and muttered to himself, "He didn't choose to dodge my attack. Can't he see through the distant future? But why can't he even see the trajectory of my attack? Either he can't dodge, or he is too confident in his defense, or he can't foresee the future of this attack at all. There is a question. As a time-based alien, the longer the time you can see through, the better? Perhaps some people think so, and they wish they could see everything about the enemy from birth to death. But the long years, bit by bit, flashed through their minds. However, what can be remembered is often only the general life. For a life-and-death battle, details are more needed. The attack route of each shot is particularly important. Emperor Shirtian's ability to see through the years is too long, but he may not be able to see the attack trajectory of Zhang Yi in front of him. The sniper in Zhang Yi's hand quickly changed into 2 handheld guns. Emperor Shirtian smiled slightly. "I told you that I have already seen through your future. And when you choose to fight me, death is the inevitable outcome." Emperor Shirtian was about to say this, but Zhang Yi did not give him the chance to speak. "Are you kidding? Now is the critical moment of the life-and-death duel between top-level aliens. How can I have the time to listen to your nonsense?" 2 divine spears were aimed at the area where Emperor Shirtian was. "Now it's barrage time." Zhang Yi's hands quickly pulled the trigger, and one after another, the supernatural bullets were like black balls, densely covering the sky, and then they came to Emperor Shirtian in an instant. Emperor Shirtian's speech was interrupted, and he was very unhappy, but he still had to deal with Zhang Yi's attack with all his strength. The world-honored heavenly umbrella is the embodiment of his ability. It has powerful defensive capabilities. The umbrella surface rotates at a constant speed and can block various attacks from all directions.
Boom, boom, boom.
The endless black barrage enveloped Emperor Shirtian, but Emperor Shirtian did not move at all. The golden light was shrouded around him, and all attacks could not get close to his body. Until this moment, Zhang Yi was sure that Emperor Shirtian's ability index was close to his, and he should also be a white bishop-level person with an ability index of 30,000 points. This was probably related to his hard training, which could get the so-called blessing of the 3-phase god. Zhang Yi was not in a hurry. He kept a long enough distance from Emperor Shirtian to prevent him from suddenly launching his ability. However, he replaced the bullets in his guns at the first time. After the reloading, the double guns could load 100 bullets at a time. Zhang hesitated for a moment, feeling a little painful about this consumption. However, considering the strength of the enemy in front of him, he decisively pulled the trigger. There was almost no gap in the barrage. After reaching the White Bishop level, the energy in the body was like the sea, and it could withstand the continuous consumption. Emperor Shirtian saw that Zhang's attack could not break his defense, and a smile appeared on his mouth. Your ability is to open the door to the other dimension to withstand the attack, so your ability is called absolute defense. However, your ability is very lacking in terms of attack angle. As if in response to him, as soon as his voice fell, a bullet with a translucent blue light flashing in the dark hit his golden light curtain under the influence of supernatural power. This is not an ordinary bullet. So when it exploded, the power generated directly shook Emperor Shirtian's body. Boom! The sound of the explosion spread a long time later, because the overly powerful explosion instantly formed a vacuum around, and a huge mushroom cloud rose up. In the meeting room of the Barata High Level, General Chalmar slammed the table. What kind of weapon is this? How can it have such a huge power? Rajesh was also shocked by the weapon, and then said in a deep voice, "Micro love death. The equivalent is very small, but if it is fired as a bullet, it can burst out extremely powerful power in the range area." He raised his glasses. This was originally a weapon eliminated by history because the technology was not mature enough. But unexpectedly, Chaos actually developed this kind of weapon. What Zhang used was the nuclear bomb that Liu Karen had continuously improved. Its value might be even higher than an aerial missile, and its power was also weaker than that of an ordinary missile. However, its greatest advantage was that it could perfectly combine with Zhang's ability to achieve an instant attack. Chapter 1739. The Three Dharma Bodies. Emperor Shirtian could never have dreamed that someone would actually fire a tiny death of love from a pistol. The powerful impact, coupled with Zhang Yi's void power, directly shook the world-honored heavenly umbrella in his hand and almost let it loose. The golden light curtain was broken into large pieces, and Emperor Shirtian quickly moved his body in the air. Looking at the mushroom cloud rising in the distance, he also had a different emotion in his heart. I still have 49 bullets like this. Zhang raised his double guns and said coldly to Emperor Shirtian. Until this moment, Emperor Shirtian's expression finally became serious. He had to admit that he couldn't continue to pretend, because the opponent in front of him was dangerous enough, and he had to go all out to deal with it. Emperor Shirtian put away the world-honored heavenly umbrella in his hand, and the 7 treasure golden steps under his feet exuded a sacred light. He stared at Zhang coldly, and his eyes looked through his gradually aging and vicissitudes of life, and finally caught the traces of his next battle. Zhang felt something in his heart, and the light in his left eye was distorted. A layer of white light was hazy like fog. As the fog slowly opened, a strange phenomenon appeared. With the black pupil as the center, a clock appeared in his left eye, and the hour hand, minute hand, and second hand were slowly turning. The second hand of time. The second hand turned with his click, and everything in front of him changed rapidly. In the next 3 seconds, all the actions that Emperor Shirtian would make were in Zhang's eyes. But this time, the scene was no longer as clear as in the past. Emperor Shirtian's figure became a superposition of countless phantoms, and it was impossible to see clearly which one was his real body. The same was true for Emperor Shirtian in the distance. The duel of a time system tried to seize the initiative by predicting the future. It depends on who has stronger ability and more accurate deduction. However, being interfered with by the other party's ability made the future blurred in their eyes, and as a result, no one could see the future clearly. This was the first time Emperor Shirtian had encountered such an ability in his life. Zhang was also a little uncomfortable. One of his most powerful abilities, which allowed him to anticipate the enemy countless times, could not be used. Emperor Shirtian raised the world-honored heavenly umbrella in his hand towards Zhang. A dazzling golden light burst out from the heavenly umbrella and shot straight at the direction where Zhang Yi was. Sunluo Wanxiang. Zhang Yi's 3,000 dimensional gates were stacked one after another, blocking him and Emperor Shirtian. After the terrifying power sank into his dimensional gate, it was like a drop in the ocean, and it had no effect at all. Zhang Yi's attack was unlikely to work on Emperor Shirtian, and vice versa. The higher the level of the alien, the more they will focus on developing their abilities in an all-round way, and it is difficult to have flaws. If the level gap is not too large, the battle will become extremely difficult, let alone killing. If it is not forced, Zhang Yi really hates fighting with such people. He prefers to bully the weak. But now he has no choice. The second and third nuclear bombs were fired at the direction where Emperor Shirtian was. This time, Emperor Shirtian had seen the power of Zhang Yi's nuclear bomb and was prepared. He opened his mouth and chanted the ancient mantra of Barata. The next moment, a dazzling golden light rose up behind him, like the scorching sun tearing through the cloudy sky in this gloomy and frozen apocalypse. 3 bodies. 2 heads suddenly appeared on Emperor Shirtian's neck, and 4 strong and powerful arms grew out of thin air on his back. Emperor Shirtian's ability can see the future. The 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma image he summoned is his past, present, and future. And in each of the newly appeared arms, each of them holds a Dharma instrument that is materialized by his ability. 1 arm rotates the Dharma wheel with the index finger, 1 arm holds a huge treasure bow, 1 arm carries a heavy sledgehammer, and 1 arm holds a huge conch. The narration is quite long, and it happens in just a moment. At the moment when the nuclear bomb approached, Vishnu raised the conch in his hand. It did not need to be blown, and it made a long and loud sound. The sound waves quickly spread around. Zhang Yi actually saw the sea in a trance. The blue wave directly absorbed all the attacks in front of him. The power of the nuclear bomb explosion was swallowed up cleanly. Chaos, don't fight against fate. Your defeat is already a fate. My eyes have seen your miserable death. Now kneel down and sincerely confess to the 3 phases of the gods. This is your only chance to survive. The voice of Emperor Shirtian came from the sky, and the voice was distant, really like a god. And Zhang Yi just sneered. I guess I have to be extravagant today, he said, and quickly pulled the trigger. 1 nuclear bomb after another turned into a black stream of light and went straight to Emperor Shirtian. The previous attack did not work, just because the firepower was not enough. We are all bishop-level aliens. Why are you pretending to be gods and doing ghosts to me? Zhang Yi directly released more than a dozen nuclear bombs in one breath. If someone who knew the situation saw this kind of attack method, they would definitely cry out in pain. Even a regional-level force would not easily squander like this. But for Zhang Yi, resources are something he does not lack. Both if you want to fight, you must take survival and winning as the most important goals, not frugality. Seeing that Zhang Yi did not take his words seriously, Emperor Shirtian's eyes became solemn, and the sound of the conch in his hand became louder, turning into a blue wave sweeping downwards.
Boom. Boom.
The dull sound echoed in the blue sea, and gradually, the waves began to deform due to the impact. The essence of superpowers is a kind of energy body that can be contained in the body of a superhuman, which is not much different from the strength used when moving bricks. And the collision of energy must be that the weaker party is overwhelmed by the stronger party. Emperor Shirtian's conch can be transformed into a barrier to absorb attacks, but Zhang Yi's dozen nuclear bombs were too fierce, and the ocean was completely shattered with a bang. Instead, the terrifying explosion force rushed towards Emperor Shirtian. Emperor Shirtian's face changed, and his figure quickly flew away to avoid being affected by the explosion. Looking at the huge mushroom cloud in the sky, he frowned slightly. Zhang Yi can fight with the help of thermal weapons, but Emperor Shirtian, who knows Zhang Yi's ability, cannot. Because no matter how powerful the thermal weapons are, they will be bounced back by Zhang Yi using the alien space. Zhang Yi stood in the air, his eyes were extremely calm, and he was not in a hurry at all. As long as the opponent could not break his defense, or use the seal to block the space like the god of Neon's god of Nest, then he would always be invincible. Chapter 1740, Vishnu Bao. Emperor Shirtian and Zhang Yi looked at each other from a distance. Zhang Yi's face was calm, and he still had dozens of nuclear bombs in his hand. He didn't plan to keep these bullets. After all, the current battle was no joke. His personal victory or defeat didn't matter, but if he lost, the entire southwest region would fall, and he would be under tremendous mental pressure. Click. The sound of bullets being loaded came, and Zhang Yi raised the muzzle of the gun and shot at Emperor Shirtian. Even if all the bullets were used up, it would be worth it as long as he could exchange for a slight injury to the other party.
Bang. Bang. Bang.
Bang. The bullets were shot at Emperor Shirtian as if they were free, mixed with black void power, and sharp lines were carved in the air. Emperor Shirtian's three-life body Dharma image raised the world-honored heavenly umbrella in his hand, and it unfolded in front of him with a bang, and then quickly turned. The dazzling, soft and sacred golden light unfolded in front of him like a sky curtain, forming a huge and vast barrier, as if falling from the sky. Dozens of dark lines collided with the golden sky, followed by another terrifying explosion. His defense is very strong, Zhang Yi said lightly. But I used nuclear bombs to consume his superpowers. In this way, I will not suffer any loss. The energy of aliens is not endless. Zhang Yi is best at fighting a war of attrition. This is also one of the biggest advantages of space aliens. He has a lot of resources in his hands and can use them at will. Although Emperor Shirtian's barrier is powerful, he can't completely ignore the explosive power of nuclear bombs. Soon he was hit and chose to retreat. And Zhang Yi's gun was aimed at him again. Emperor Shirtian frowned deeply. He also knew that it would not be good for him to go on like this for a long time. But no matter how fast he was, he couldn't be faster than the gun in Zhang Yi's hand. Even if he wanted to fight Zhang Yi in close combat, he couldn't catch up with Zhang Yi. Thinking of this, Emperor Shirtian immediately gave orders to the troops displayed on the border. Launch an attack on the southwest region of Huashu country. These words were said in front of Zhang Yi. Emperor Shirtian's purpose was to make Zhang Yi nervous and increase his sense of urgency. Once Zhang Yi was anxious to defeat him, he would inevitably make mistakes in the attack. Zhang Yi only smiled contemptuously when he heard Emperor Shirtian's words. Casual. He was even too lazy to respond to Emperor Shirtian, because responding would also show that he was not as calm as he seemed on the surface. Zhang Yi always did his best and left everything to fate. He had done everything he should do, and even if the war still burned to the land of the southwest region, he had a clear conscience. What's more, at this time, the entire Fueying army, plus the remaining resistance forces in the southwest region, were already on the front line, waiting to meet the enemy. Zhang Yi responded with a gun in his hand, firing nuclear bombs at Emperor Shirtian one after another. The power of the 3 rounds of volleys would shock even an alien. After all, it was a nuclear bomb. The volley of dozens of bullets, in a small area, could even explode with power close to the miniature god of death of love. In order to avoid being injured by the explosion, Indra chose to use his ability to resist the attack, as he was the strongest man in Barata and had to maintain his style. As a result, his strength was greatly consumed. Zhang Yi had basically no loss. In the 4th round of attack, he fired all the nuclear bullets in his gun. At this time, more than a dozen peaks in the Great Snow Mountain Range had been flattened, and the pits and potholes looked extremely terrifying. Zhang Yi, however, reloaded the bullets slowly and continued to attack Indra with the holy silver bullets. The silver barrage was like clouds hanging from the sky, covering the entire space in front of him. This kind of attack was naturally much weaker than a nuclear bomb. Indra's world-honored heavenly umbrella was unfolded, and they were easily blocked completely. In his Dharma image hand, the huge Vishnu bow was slowly opened by him, and the golden energy poured into it like a tide. The frenzied energy storm made the Great Snow Mountain Range tremble. It looks like you have used up all your bullets, and your attack power is just SOSO. Now, it's my turn. Emperor Shirtian said calmly, and with his strong and muscular arms, he pulled open the huge divine bow. A golden energy arrow appeared on the bow, aiming directly at Zhang Yi's eyebrows in the distance. At this moment, Zhang Yi felt that he was locked by fate. It seemed that no matter how he dodged, the arrow would definitely hit his body. This strange feeling made Zhang Yi stare and take the upcoming attack seriously. The dimensional door had already opened behind him. At the same time, there were thousands of doors appearing in other places around him. As long as he took a step back, there would be thousands of angles to escape in an instant. You will never be able to dodge this attack. Emperor Shirtian's tone was full of unquestionable attitude. Then he suddenly let go and shot an arrow directly at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi didn't need to prepare much, because he had always been on full alert. What he did at this time was just to condense the divine refining into a huge silver shield in front of him. Swish! The golden arrow broke through the air, containing extremely powerful lethality. Zhang Yi's mind field covers a radius of 5 kilometers, and any slight spatial fluctuations are sensed by him. Moreover, the layers of all things that are wrapped around him and are difficult to break through are definitely difficult to be penetrated by this arrow. But right under his nose, the golden arrow disappeared very abruptly. Zhang Yi was startled, and at the same time, a sign of danger suddenly broke out. Behind him, the disappeared arrow appeared strangely. Ignoring his layers of dimensional doors, it appeared behind him, pointing to the position of his heart. Boom! The golden arrow shot at Zhang Yi's back, first shattering the holy silver armor formed by the divine refining, then shattering his latent dragon armor, followed by combat uniforms and black battle clothes. Zhang Yi's thoughts were suddenly pulled back to reality. At the moment of approaching death, tracing of all things gave him an early warning, and the golden arrow in front of him just flew towards him from Emperor Shirtian's hand. What on earth is going on? Why did it pass through my Sunlua Wanxiang and then get behind me? Time was too short for Zhang Yi to think about this question. The barrier he relied on the most lost its effect, and he had to find a way to make up for it. So he stared at the arrow, and the moment it disappeared, he turned around quickly, and the dark silver shield in his hand swept out. It just hit the golden arrow that suddenly appeared.